everybody. Hello. Before we start, I hope that you have your books with you, but if you don't have your books with you, I'm just gonna put the pages in our group chat. I have already put them on Canvas. I put them under files yesterday. I uploaded the pages, photos and scans of the pages onto Canvas for you. So if you can't find them in our group chat, you'll find them on Canvas. Yeah, this coming back to school has been a bit hard with the tight little room where we have been and how things have been. So I'm hoping that on Friday things will be different. And some of you, like Magnus Koa and I think it was Andreas Rutfold, and some of you have been asking for a Kahoot. And I'm sorry that I didn't have one ready for you. I prefer to work with Quizlet I have over 200 study sets on there. And I know you don't love it, but we can have some fun with it sometimes. And I use it as a way to have you do guided studies. So it's very important to me that you actually use it. But I will make some more Kahoot study sets for you, just to see if maybe if I do something for you, maybe you'll do something for me, and maybe not talk when I'm trying to talk. Sometimes. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, if you don't have your book, at least open the page. It's page 143. It looks like this. The last border. This is actually a summary of the long text that you guys read and already answered questions about it. So I'm sure you will be 117% okay with this. This won't be difficult for you. What we'll do, we'll go over the text. Again, if for some reason the sound is not good enough for you, I will gladly...
Shortcut.
Yeah, I'll give you the... If you have that login, everybody has that fade there login. You can use that to actually access the audio yourself if you need to. So I'm going to give you the link to that as well if you need it. But I am going to play it now during this lecture. It's not going to be long, 35 minutes tops. But you will have to work on some things after. And I expect you to send me the work that you do. Some of you don't hand in anything. And if you're getting a 2, you could be getting a 4 if you're handing in stuff and if you're doing your work. If you're getting a 3, who knows, you could be getting a 5+. And even a 6 if you manage to work on your mistakes and work on everything. It's up to you, really. I don't give you grades. You give yourself a grade when you do your work. So without anything else to say now, I think I've said everything I wanted to say. So I'm going to play the audio for you. And you will listen and read at the same time. You have the page there. It's page 143.
Shortcut. The Last Border. This is the story of how Shafiullah, a young man from Afghanistan, came to Britain. As an illegal immigrant, he knew he would have to be smuggled into the country. They threw him out in Calais and told him to wait. This was the last border. This would take time, and they would have to be patient. The agent said there was only a matter of time before one people smuggler took the $1,000 ahead to smuggle them into Britain. Then the agents left them. They would call when it happened. There were some people who waited weeks. There were some people who waited months. But he was lucky. The agent had found space for 3 of them in a lorry heading over. Shafiullah barely had time to greet the other Afghan around his age and an Iraqi who seemed much older before they pushed them in and the container was locked. He could see the other boys' eyes in the dark. They had nothing to worry about. London was the country of human rights. They couldn't touch you there. All you had to do was tell them you were running from a war country and came from danger. That way, they would never send you home. He was trembling as the lorry drove onto the train. This was the country they had always talked about. The country of London. The city where everyone is rich. The city where you can become rich. He could not count the time that passed. Then the lorry stopped and the driver came to look at them. He called the police. The truck driver said, "Hello, officer. I'm a truck driver just coming in from Calais. I was driving and I heard some scrabbling round the back. And now I've checked and I've got some migrants in me back. Nothing to do with me, officer. They must have broke in or something." They came quickly. The boys were so excited and joyful to be at the end of the golden road that they began shouting out, "Hello! Hello!" and waving to the policemen. They were shivering with happiness.
Now to the questions. There are 3 questions at the bottom of the page. And I'd like you to type in chat the answers, all right? The first one, did Shafula have to wait long for transport from Calais? Please remember that when you type in the answer, even if somebody else has already typed it, later on I'm going to review that. I do this all the time. I go back and I review the chat and I look at everybody who participated, who answered questions. If it was wrong, the answer that you put, maybe it was wrong. But you know what? You tried. Okay? So that is actually showing effort. Everything in this life is about putting effort into things. So, letter A, did Shafula had to wait? Did he have to wait long for transport from Calais? Put in your answer. Later on, I'll look at it. I'll look at it and I'll see, oh, look, Sievert and Andrina, they put in answers for everything. Sometimes they were right, sometimes they were not, but they were trying. And then I'll see that maybe all of you have tried to write something. So it is very important. And people who aren't handing in things and who aren't participating in here, I'm sorry to say that this will be detrimental to your grade. Please try. So did Shafula have to wait long for transport from Calais? Well, when you look at the very top of the page, the very second bit, they threw him out in Calais and told him to wait. This was the last border. This would take time and they would have to be patient. So being patient means it's going to take time. Have to be patient. So yes, he had to wait. He had to wait. There were people who waited weeks. So this text is still about what we discussed over the past couple of classes. We've been talking about migration immigration, emigration, and we talked about the differences. This is something you should know, and you will be asked about it on a test eventually. Please type your answer for letter B. How is London described? Hvordan er London beskrivet? So in the text, they talk about London a certain way. How is London described? Just put a few keywords if you can. Type the answers in a chat, please. And remember, everything you write in, I'll be looking at it. I'll be looking and revising the entire chat to see who was here. So please participate. Yes, if you take a look at, there is blocks of sentences. I'm not going to call those paragraphs because they're way too short to be paragraphs. But there are blocks of sentences grouped together with important aspects of the text. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, at the fifth block of sentences together, they're too short to be a paragraph. He was trembling as the lorry drove onto the train. This was the country they had always talked about, the country of London. And they say the country of London. We know that London's not a country, right? London's a city. London is a city where? Where is London? Type it in. I expect everybody to know this. And I know that you will know. How is London described and where is London? It's in England, in Great Britain. It's a city, right? And the way it is described in the text, some of you have already written, the city where everyone is rich, the city where you can become rich. So this is how they felt about London. They felt like, okay, once I'm in London, I'm going to be rich and everything's going to be perfect. This is a romanticized view of other countries, of other places that some people have when they live in poverty or they live in conditions that are not so great. This is how they feel. They feel like everything elsewhere will be perfect. And some people come to Norway with the same belief. They come here thinking their lives are going to be perfect. But then, as we talked about a couple of classes ago, it is not easy being an immigrant somewhere. And as an immigrant myself, it's very hard, especially when you look like this. And you will never understand what it is like unless you walk in my shoes. So you would never understand how difficult it is to deal with discrimination. People don't treat you fairly. Not all the time. There are lots of good people everywhere, of course. There's good and bad, and there is good and bad in everyone. But it is difficult to deal with prejudice. People will look at someone, oh, they're black and they look poor, so they probably aren't very smart, they probably don't have an education. There's some assumptions that are made which are very unfair to people. So that type of thing is something that I want you to think about if you were asked on a test to talk about the difficulties that immigrants face in this country. That would be something to talk about. I think Magnus B. wrote a little bit about that in one of his assignments. And shout out to Magnus B. He retired from his YouTube career, he says. A sad day for YouTubers. At any rate, I digress. All right, so How is London described? London is described as the place where everyone is rich, where you can become rich. So this is from the point of view of an immigrant. Right, let's go on to letter C. What happens when they reach England? So finally they're there. Is it as amazing as they expected it to be? Please type your answers in chat. Was it as amazing as they thought it would be? Did they get what they expected as soon as they arrived? Type it in. So maybe it wasn't as amazing as they thought it would have been. Or maybe it depends on the point of view of whoever is reading. Because some may argue, well, they were there where they wanted to be, so maybe the situation wasn't perfect, but they were there, so maybe they were happy anyway. They seemed happy before the policeman talked to them, right? They were shivering with happiness, shivering with happiness. But God knows what happened afterwards, right? Anyway, everyone, we're going to move on to something else. But remember, I'm going to require that you do the exercises and send them to me. I'm going to be looking for your assignments on my email, on Canvas, everywhere. I managed to put everything on Canvas yesterday for you, so you should definitely have the pages. Page 144. On page 144, you will find this at the very top of it. Let me, okay, maybe this is big enough. 144. Understand, true or false. All right, you guys, this is what I want you to do. I want you to type in chat. Letter A. Migration is the process of people never leaving their home country. True or false? Type your answer in chat. If the statement is false, I want you to write false, but also write the sentence again and correct it. It's not like a grammar mistake with do and don't and does and is or are, nothing like that. It is the content of the answer. Dere skal skrive setningene som er feil. Dere skal skrive setningene på nytt. Det er ikke grammatikk som er feil på setningene, i setningene. Det er informasjon som kan være litt feil. Så dere skal skrive på nytt. Hvis det er feil, skrive dere på nytt. I'm gonna want to see this, all of it. I want you to type everything and I want you to send it to me. Right now in the chat, do as much as you can. Letter A, true or false? Migration is the process of people never leaving their home country. If you're saying it's false, why is it false? Write it again and write it correctly. It could be that you wrote something like this. Migration is the process of people leaving their country, leaving their home country, right? Or leaving their cities or leaving to go on living somewhere else. Letter B, true or false. Push factors make the migrant's destination attractive. If you think it's true, you don't need to do anything with it. Hvis dere tror at dette her er riktig, da trenger dere ikke å gjøre noe. Bare skriv true. Hvis det er feil, da skal dere skrive det på nytt med riktig informasjon. Letter C. A pull factor is something that makes staying at home uncomfortable, dangerous, or impossible. True or false? So remember, if you think about the verbs, and we've talked about that, push away, and pull towards you. So you're being pulled to go to another country. And by being pulled to go to another country, you're also being pushed to go away. Please give me your explanation. Type in chat what you're thinking, and later on type it in a Word document and send it to me. But right now I'd like to know what you're thinking and what your thought process is regarding this, because it's very important that I know that you're here, so you have to type your answers and participate. Letter C, true or false? If it's false, remember to rewrite it with the right information. Letter D, immigration can lead to cultural I was going to say diversity, but it says variety. Well, same thing, different word. But also to conflict and tension. So here you have some advantages and some disadvantages of immigration. True or false? Immigration can lead to cultural variety, but also to conflict and tension. Explain your answers. Type in the chat and explain your answers. Remember, I'll be reviewing the chat to see who participated. Last but not least, letter E. Migrants never share their income with family members back in the old country. Can you tell me really quick, before we move on, what does income mean? What does that word mean? What is that word in Norwegian? Income. Does anybody know? I'm checking to see if Unabated has written me a message. Shout out to Unabated, everyone. So migrants never share their income with family members back in the country. True or false? If you think it's false, explain why. That's very important. You have to explain why. Yes. If you think it's false, perhaps you can just change one word and make it correct. Migrants share their income with family members back in the old country. And then you're already correcting it to make it perfect. Yes, I think we're going to cover one more thing today, and then I'll give you time to work on your own, on your computers, and send me the work online. But we have one more thing to work on before you go. Just a second. It's not going to take long, I promise you. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. That was from last week. This is not from today. That was from last week. I was surprised to see all the negative responses to that Greta Thunberg thing. I was surprised, but also enlightened to see that you're thinking for yourselves and you're not just going with the flow. Oh, everyone thinks this girl is so cool, so we must think that she's cool as well. You just made up your own mind based on your own experiences. Okay, I also assigned to you page 145, exercise 6. Exercise 6, it's about proverbs. So, proverbs are sayings. They're things people say. They're kind of messages in a game with the words to make you think. All right, let's take a look at the very first proverb. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. What does that mean? Absence. When you're not there. So when you're not there, people can't miss you if you're always there. If you're not there, then their heart will start to be like, oh, where is she? I haven't seen her in so long. But if you're always there, they're like, oh, her again? So absence makes the heart grow fonder. So you have to find the definition for it. The first column here, let me see if I can, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I hope this works. Okay. Yes. I hope this works because I want to do something with this. Let's see. On this side, you have the proverbs. What I just circled in red here. You have to match what's on here with a definition on the other side. So the first one is this. Being away from someone or something for a period of time makes you appreciate that person or thing more when you see them or it again. So the first one is done for you. You're going to try to do the other ones and you're going to send me the answers. I really want to see this. So this is your assignment for the day. Pages 144, exercise 1, 145, exercise 6, A and B. Yes? So one thing that I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you let's take a look at the next one. If you don't know what you're supposed to do, it's perfectly fine to ask me. Send me a message and ask me. Let's see. Here is exercise 6B. Match the Norwegian proverb with its English counterpart. So here you have things in Norwegian that people say. And one of the first ones that I ever learned in Norwegian was Ut på tur, aldri sur. That's a proverb. That's something that people say, right? And people don't really say that in English, but you can try to explain to people what it means. Okay? So this is what I want you to do. This is your assignment for the day. You've been complaining to me that you don't like Quizlet Live so much, so maybe I'll give you a break from it, although it is a very helpful tool for you to learn, and I want you to consider working on it. I will always assign stuff on Quizlet and Quizlet Live for you. But of course, I made you a Kahoot for Friday, and we'll start the class on Friday with that Kahoot, since you've been asking for it for a while. All right, please work for the next 45 minutes and send me the exercises via email, Canvas, or any platform where you can find me. Okay? You have no excuse. You have me completely available to you everywhere. Bye, everybody, and have a nice afternoon.